Alright, hi guys, this is Aegis, and I am here with Alkiri. He's going to be playing as the blue Protoss player. This is going to be bronze level play, bronze silverish level play, so we're going to be doing a little bit of tutorial-like talking, I guess. So say hi to everyone, Alkiri.
What's going on, YouTube?
Alright, so talk a little bit about what's going through your mind as you begin this game against your Zerg opponent.
Alright, guys. I'm, again, Bronze League, not that impressive, as everybody knows. It's one of those things where I know that you have to scout early game to see what everybody's going to do. And, again, since I'm low-level Protoss, the majority of my stuff goes to foregating. However, as a Protoss player, against a Zerg, you know you always want to wall off. If you're watching my screen right now, you can see me putting on a pylon at the front gate, at the ramp, because I'm getting ready to put the initial gate, and then followed by the cybernetics core to block off my ramp.
Yeah, walling off is always something good to have, and I see that you got a slightly supply block there, but that's okay in the beginning of the game. It happens all the time. Just get your pylon on 9, it'll probably pause making a probe for just a second. And over here, our Zerg player, he's actually going up to 14 food, so for you Zerg players out there, this does indicate several builds. It could be more drones before getting a 14 pool, or you could go ahead and grab your natural expansion. So it looks like the pool is coming up, and sometimes Zerg players will like to grab the gas first. If you grab the gas first, you will be able to get the speed as soon as your pool is complete. I believe that's the case, and Alkiri is going to be grabbing his gas right now, and we're going to continue to watch his Nexus here. So whenever you watch your own play, we just saw a sort of pause in the making of probes. It's something that you want to practice with, and I was telling Alkiri earlier, you could do this practice thing where you play a custom against the very easy computer. Get a probe, select it, send it into the center of the map, and throughout the game you just want to use the hotkey to select your Nexus, and always make sure it's continuously making probes, and in the meantime you're going to be continuously moving your probe in the center of the map, making pylons. So that's just an easy way to practice. Never get supply blocked, never stop making probes, and never look at your Nexus. And I see a proxy pylon already. That's a little bit early for a proxy pylon.
Yeah, during this game I made a few mistakes. I went back and watched this before we started casting. I looked after I scouted and I saw, okay, he's got his gas going up, he's got a spawning pool going down, he's going for speed links. I can deal with that. So I know that he's going to be focusing more on that. He's going to be macroing more. So I just said, okay, maybe I can put on a proxy. But now, the mistake I made with that, besides it being a little bit early, I wasn't paying attention to my build order, I wasn't paying attention to when my gateway actually got done. So I put down a cybernetics core late, and then I left it there. I didn't start researching gate right away. That was a main key to why I lost.
And I also see that you're spending a lot of chrono boosts on your probes. The proper way to actually forgate is to spend only 2 chrono boosts on the Nexus, and then the remainder goes on your first Stalker and the Warp Gate Research, of course. And I see your 4 gateways coming up, and our Zerg player here. Yeah, it is a little bit late, but that's actually interesting here that our Zerg player has not expanded. I see that you see it with your pylon right now, that he's only now expanded at the 5-minute mark, which is extraordinarily late. So you can, as a Protoss player, knowing this, you can expect some sort of pretty early attack in the higher levels, but as we can see here, there's clearly not enough for our Zerg player to attack with. And also something of note is I see a forge being thrown down. This is a little bit odd to me, but tell us what you were thinking with the forge.
At this point, it was more of a, okay, I know I'm late on everything, and I only have 1 Zealot and 1 Sentry, which I do a terrible, terrible force field right now. What I was going to do was, before this attack came on, I didn't know it because I didn't scout it like I should have. I was actually going to throw down a couple of cannons between my cybernetics core and my gateway, which of course did not go down fast enough. Okay. But luckily, I queued up some zealots, and they're coming in to clean it up.
That's something that that I want to talk a little bit about the cannons. In this case, there's not much of an actual need for a couple of cannons. You could go with one if you're feeling particularly scared about an all-in, which you would see with roaches coming out, but of course in this case you don't see roaches. So one of the mistakes that lower players usually make is making extra cannons. Like every single time you watch a replay, if you've made any cannons at all during the game, I want you to go back, for you lower players, just to go back and look to see what your opponent has, what he could have had, and exactly how necessary that cannon was. I see a ton of Zerglings sacrificing themselves just there, so that's pretty good for the Protoss player in this case. A couple of pylons going down. I see your money skyrocketing into the thousands. So another thing you want to pay attention to is making your money stay as low as possible. Our Zerg player doing a little bit better, but still doing pretty bad on the money count. 500 minerals and 600 unused gas. I see a Spire on the way, so that's going to be able to use that up. But in any case, something you want to keep an eye out for. And this Photon Cannon, as I was saying earlier, is completely unnecessary.
And this is true, guys. And as a general rule, I like to, I have a couple of higher level player friends, they like to tell me these things. If pretty much early game, anything below 10 minutes, if you have over 1,000 minerals, you've lost the game. Because you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
You're not putting down units. You're not doing this right. Now, and you see here, instead of a Forge, what I should have done first, I should have gotten the Twilight Council. I could have researched Charge. I could have researched Blink and done some early harassment. I should have put down a Roboport for my observers. I do that later in the game, but again, not soon enough. These cannons, he is right. Aegis is completely right. They're completely worthless. It's a waste of 300 minerals. I could have put down a Nexus about 4 minutes ago. I could have done more Zealots, more Stalkers. The Sentry count, probably not the best. I mean, I know it's helpful, especially if I got better with Force Field, which, of course, I'm also terrible at, as you saw earlier in the game. It's just things to think about while you're in game. I know it's a lot, but again, it's what you have to do.
And one of the things I want to point out is that there's a little bit too much tech on the Protoss side to be able to support off of one base. I see a robotics facility. Of course, if you go up to 1,000 minerals, spend it as quickly as you possibly can. But if you're trying to keep your money low, 4 gateways and a Twilight Council plus the robotics is way too much off of one base. And we're going to go back and look at the Zerg player, so we don't want to completely ignore our Zerg buddies here. You're going to see that he's going for those mutas. He's got the +1 on the way, so he's committing to those mutas. Generally, these come out around the 10-ish minute mark. So these guys are a little bit late. I would say probably 2 whole minutes late in popping out, but that's completely okay. Our Zerg player looks pretty good as of this moment, still mining a little bit of excess in terms of the gas count, because he did get those mutas late, unable to get the money necessary to be able to utilize them. And in this case here, we see Charge being researched, so these mutas are going to be doing a lot of damage in terms of harassment against our Protoss player. And the other thing I want to note for our Zerg player is that he's not actually doing too much. He's kind of sitting back, making a couple of drones, and not knowing exactly what our Protoss player is doing is a really bad thing at the 12-minute mark. Because for all you know, it could be a 1-base or 2-base Colossus all in, and that's when the moment comes that you're just like, oh my goodness, I can't possibly hold off Protoss and Protoss OP. So if you actually
And I'm very touched that you think that I'm that good. I wish I could do an all-in Colossus Rush. And however, I do want to make a quick note on the Zerg player. I've never talked for the most part, but I do want to notice for everybody else who's watching this, he is not saturated on his mineral line. Again, we all know 2 drones per mineral and 3 per gas. His secondary, especially, is nowhere close, and his main is just about getting
especially as of this moment in the game. I mean, let's see, around the 8-minute mark, this would have actually been completely fine for this stage in the game. He's gone for the infestation pit. He has his Spire. He has his lair up, of course, and he's also got these 2 bases. He can easily go ahead and grab another one. I also see that Alkiri is not really moving any of his units to help defend his main. That could have been done a while ago to be able to save a lot of
so long ago.
So we're going to see that our Zerg player has taken a huge lead as of this moment, except for in the army count. So what our Zerg player needs to be able to hold off is the counter attack, which he cannot right now. There's literally 2 spine crawlers and like 10 Zerglings out on the field for our Zerg player, and nothing. Like, there's nothing here. So in a lot of these cases, when our Protoss player loses a lot of probes, or basically all of them, the only option left is really to just counter attack, because there's nothing over there. So I know. Yeah.
And speaking of the all-in, it's coming right now. That's my thought is. I was like, okay, I destroyed his mute account. I have no idea what he has because, again, I've been horrible on scouting. My
your
observer's
observer
just sitting on his
sees
secondary.
everything. I mean, there's nothing that he has that you're not seeing, basically. And I strongly dislike how our Zerg player did not take another base during that attack. So he's really far behind right now in terms of that army count. The Mutos are going to be able to sprint across the map and try to do some damage, but it's probably not going to be enough. The Protoss army could have directly engaged the spine crawlers, but of course, going for the throat right now, going to be able to clean this up pretty easily. Throwing up some Guardian shields, I think, should be able to mitigate the damage. Of course, it's not coming up right now.
Nope, did not happen.
So,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
I didn't. Again, I was like, focus fire the mutas, and then he focus fired my stalkers, and that was pretty much GG from there. I knew at this point, okay, what's the main thing you attack whenever you attack anything? For Protoss, it's pylons, because if you can't have pylons, you can't build anything else. It's supply blockers. For Zerg, it's the overlords if you can get them, or if there's no point at this point, go for the spawning pool.
Yeah.
No
So
more Zerglings, they
for
can't do anything.
I want to note something for let's say you're a gold or under player. I want to focus more a little bit on the macro, because in a lot of these cases, it's basically the macro that's putting you behind GG from this game, but we're going to continue talking a little bit about this game. So over here, our Zerg player Matthew, he has 2,000 minerals in the bank. I want you to imagine if our Protoss player did not grab the Robo, so that's 200 minerals, didn't get this Twilight Council, and did not get a 4th gateway, as well as skipped a forge for later. That's 3 gateways and plenty of money to be able to expand really early. And our Zerg player did have a really hard time holding off any sort of 6-gate push. So that's basically what you would lose to as a Zerg player in this position. 2,000 minerals in the bank, not much units of any sort on the field, actually not even utilizing the Zerglings to be able to hold off that attack. So if there was like just a couple more Stalkers, that would have been a really bad position to be in. And over here, our Protoss player, I want to note that the I guess the scouting was fine. I saw the observer getting a good look at everything, but the response given to the Mutos was just a little bit delayed. But in terms of that macro, the army could have been a lot larger at the 16-minute mark. So I want you to focus on not like staring at your army as you attack or do things, but mainly focusing on, am I making probes? Am I spending my chrono boost? Am I keeping my money low? Because if you go back through this game, I assure you that there were times that those warp gates were not being used. And that's not a good thing to be doing, especially if your money is going high. So I want to note for all of you players here that you want to keep your money low, keep your probes making, or if you're Terran, I don't want to leave you Terran guys out, but keep your SCVs being used. Continue to make those SCVs, drop those mules, use the scan if you have to, but mainly scans. If you use them too much to try to figure out exactly what your opponent is doing, it's just going to cut down on your economy, and those mules are very, very, very good. So I hope this gives you guys a little bit of insight into playing StarCraft at a little bit of a higher level. I'm probably going to post up some additional videos about build orders, things like that later on, so keep an eye out for those as they come along, and I hope you enjoyed this. So we're going to be signing off.
Have a good